Welcome to a new video, and yeah, I'm working late at night to get this video done. This is the comparison between the Xiaomi 14 Pro against the Vivo X100 Pro. So let's get started. So the X100 Pro just released on the market, and the Xiaomi 14 Pro a little bit older there already. Let's check out those camera specs on both. Even though it looks like 4 cameras on the Vivo X100 Pro, we only have 3 here. So we have 3 50 megapixels. Is this zoom really, or the telecamera really a 50 megapixel camera? Actually, it's a 64 one, but cropped in to 50. And then we have like the highlight, the 1-inch type sensor, IMX989, someone that we know already from the X90 Pro Plus, and also the Xiaomi 13 Pro that the Xiaomi 14 Pro ditched this year for a new Light Hunter 900 camera sensor, the main camera sensor, 1/1.3-inch sized sensor. We have a 3.2 times zoom or telecamera on the Xiaomi 14 Pro and a 4.3 times optical zoom on the Vivo. I'm not sure if it's really 4.3 times optical or just because they're cropping in a little bit there. Nevertheless, it is 4.3 times optical zoom. This is what you can access. And then we have an ultra wide angle there as well, 50 megapixel on both. And of course we have some front-facing cameras, 32 megapixel front-facing cameras, Yuhei in a punch hole. And I think we start off going outside now. Actually, a few days ago, I went outside where it was raining and recorded something for you. So let's check out the videos.
A rainy day here in Cologne, and I'm recording with the Vivo X100 Pro's front-facing camera, 1080p 30 frames per second that you can have here. The cool thing about this one is, in contrast to almost all the other smartphone manufacturers, is that during recording I have the possibility to not only pause this video, but I can also switch to the back-facing camera. Just like this. And now I'm at the back-facing cameras and I can zoom in and zoom out, but it's just 1080p recording here, so I don't think this makes much sense. How's the audio switching? Is it fast enough? Is it quick enough? I'm using an external microphone. What do you think about the Vivo X100 Pro? And now I'm recording with the Xiaomi 14 Pro's front-facing camera, 4K 30 frames per second. This is the cool new thing with Xiaomi phones. We have now 4K front-facing camera recording. It goes even up to 60 frames per second if you want this in 4K, which is quite nice. This is a brand new update. Hopefully they fix the microphone. I'm just a little bit hoping still that they fix finally the microphones and the audio quality. Otherwise, yeah, I'm sorry that the audio quality is so bad, but it's not It's not my fault. It is really Xiaomi's aggressive noise filter that is destroying the audio here. I don't have any options to switch to the back-facing cameras or zoom in or zoom out on this one here. What do you think? Nevertheless, 4K 30 frames per second on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. And now the main highlight on the Vivo X100 Pro, the 1-inch type sensor that we have here that gives us a nice background blur, and even in this dim-lit rainy day situation, I think a nice picture quality. What do you think about this one here? The cool thing here is that Vivo finally has the possibility to switch between all the camera lenses. So if I go here and have now a button instead of a slider, I can go to the ultra wide angle. And you can see that I'm carrying a parcel bag, sending back the Oppo Find N3 Flip to Tradingshenzhen. If you're interested in getting the newest Chinese devices like the Vivo X100 Pro here, Tradingshenzhen is your friend. So enough of this little advertisements. Let's try zooming in on something. There we have this little tower there. I can zoom in 2 times. I can press on 2 times again to zoom in a little bit more if I want to. Or just go to 4.3 times. And then I can go in and zoom up to 10 times in 4K. What do you think? Not a 1-inch type sensor on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, nevertheless a good sensor, I think, also in good stabilization, colors and so on. Large sensor, 1/1.3-inch size sensor. What do you think about the quality here? I don't have a zoom slider, but I can don't have a zoom button. I have a zoom slider, but I can still zoom out in 4K 30 frames per second, which is working quite nicely, as you can see here. What's not working is 4K 60 frames per second. There I cannot switch between the lenses. Now let's go and check out the zoom capabilities. So now Let's zoom. This is 1 time we switch lenses, and we can go to 3.2 times we switch lenses, and then let's go also to 10 times. Actually, you can even zoom more than 10 times. But now we are at 10 times zoom, so I think the Vivo is doing a better job here. What do you think? Look at the front-facing video. What you can clearly see here on both is that we have a warmer rendition on the Xiaomi 14 Pro for sure. We have 4K on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, but it's very, very noisy in this kind of dim lit situation. Wherever I go, you can see this noise everywhere. Where on the Vivo X100 Pro, it's a bit smooth for sure. It's not sharp enough because we have 1080p only, but at least it's not so noisy. And I think the colors of my face I like a little bit better there. And of course, I like the feature that you can swap to the main camera during recording, which is quite nice. Otherwise, yeah, it's very, very hard to tell which one is better. But I think I prefer still the Xiaomi for just to have 4K there, which is a bit sharper, even though it's so noisy. So what are your thoughts? Main camera footage in video mode, what we can clearly see is we have a bit of better background blur here on the Vivo X100 Pro, but the Vivo is pulling a Google Pixel and makes myself somehow looking artificially super contrasty and a bit of ill, where the Xiaomi 14 Pro keeps everything a little bit warmer there, a little bit blown out highlights for sure as well. And when we take a look at the detail levels, you can see, yeah, it's not always like 100% sharp there. Which is like one issue maybe with the stabilization, where the Vivo also not 100% sharp, because you get the better background blur, more bokeh there, you get a little bit more of sharpness. But you can also see how those orangey points are like of this HDR is also doing quite a weird kind of job. So in terms of video, I have to give it to the Xiaomi 14 Pro for the main camera footage. Let's go to the ultra wide angle. And you can clearly see that the ultra-wide angle struggles a lot on the Vivo X100 Pro. First of all, it's dark, and then it gets like brightened up, but it's super blurry there. Even if I let's mute the microphone for a second and play it back, you can see how shaky this is. And compare this with the Xiaomi 14 Pro. It is also a bit, let's go back a little bit there, has some issues there, but it is way more stable. It's not as shaky as the Vivo X100 Pro, and you get some kind of sharp images. If I just stop by randomly here, for example, you can see there's a bit of noise grain going on. This I think is like from the rain, but here everything is like completely blurry on the Vivo X100 Pro. So I'm quite disappointed by the video so far of the Vivo X100 Pro. And when we go into zoom, yeah, 4.3 times zooms in a little bit more, but you can see in terms of detail level, doesn't look too good. A bit sharpened up, but the Xiaomi is not better either. It's just a bit too soft. And when we go like to a little bit more of a zoom there, let's go directly to the end zoom when we can clearly see, yes. Can I zoom in a little bit more? We can clearly see, yes, the 4.3 times zoom on the Vivo X100 Pro gives us a little bit more details there for sure. And this is like less detailed on the Xiaomi 14 Pro for sure. Yes, the zoom in video mode is better on the Vivo X100 Pro. The main camera sensor, however, in this dim lit kind of situation, rainy day, not really. I think the Xiaomi 14 Pro does a better job with exposure on my face and not making me look like I'm completely ill or something like this. And the ultra-wide angle stabilization is way better on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, even though we have a wider angle of view. The Vivo X100 Pro struggles there a bit with the ultra-wide angle for sure. Let's talk about the photos. On the left always the Vivo X100 Pro, on the right always the Xiaomi 14 Pro. We start off with the ultra-wide angle. What we can see here on first glance is a brighter picture on the Vivo X100 Pro, as well as a darker and cooler picture on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. We can also see that the Xiaomi 14 Pro has a wider angle of view. We have here 40mm instead of 50mm. It's just a 1mm difference, but it is a visible difference. The other thing that you will notice is we have overblown highlights here on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, where the Vivo X100 Pro is keeping the highlights tamed down and has better HDR. We can also see a little bit more noise creeping in on the Xiaomi 14. In terms of detail levels and so on, I think the Vivo X100 Pro has a slight edge there over the Xiaomi 14 Pro, but this is just simply very close together. Not much of a difference that you can see there. Here you can clearly see in the main building that we have a bit sharpened up picture on the Vivo X100 Pro, where the Xiaomi 14 Pro seems to have focused somewhere else. At least it's a bit softer. The building is a bit sharper. Here I think also the leaves and the tree branches are a little bit more in focus and sharpened up on the Vivo for sure. And yeah, what we can clearly see here is a bit more detail on the Vivo in comparison to the Xiaomi. Xiaomi seems to be a bit more real, the Vivo a bit more artificial. Let's take a look at the cars here, and we can clearly see, yes, the Vivo has a bit more detail than the Xiaomi 14 Pro. It's not by much, but it's definitely there. And you can also clearly see here the difference in terms of noise reduction or noise on the picture itself. Let's take a look at the main camera footage. Again, a bit warmer on the Vivo X100 Pro. The Xiaomi 14 Pro a bit cooler here. Again, the same HDR effect that you can see here. In terms of detail level and so on, very comparable, but you can see that it's a bit more natural looking on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, where the Vivo is sharpening things up, but not sharpening things up to oblivion like the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra is doing it, which makes you scratch your eyes. This one is good sharpening. It's not overdone, I would say, at least in my taste, it's not overdone. What do you think? You can write it down in the comments as well. What do you think about this one here? It looks a bit like a painting on the Xiaomi 14 Pro already. And both, by the way, I shot with the default mode, which is vivid mode on the X100 Pro. The Xiaomi 14 Pro I also set to vivid instead of the authentic mode to have it more fair and square, because they also have like a classic size classic mode, I think, or natural mode on the Vivo, and the Leica authentic mode on the Xiaomi that would be like a matter of taste, then I would say. But here we are like comparing the defaults. And then let's go and check out the zoom shots. This is 2x zoom on both, where both crop in onto the main sensor. Again, the difference in terms of white balance is apparent, where the Xiaomi 14 Pro is much more greenish, bluish, where the Vivo X100 more warmish green and yellowish there. In terms of detail level, do you notice big of a difference there? Not so much, I would say. Both basically on par. The only thing that I notice is that the background here is also much clearer, much sharper on the Vivo X100 Pro, where here it's a bit mushy on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. And the text also is a bit clearer on the Vivo X100 Pro, so I think the IMX 989 is doing its job fine here. Now we have 3.2 against 4.3 times zoom. 4.3 times definitely hands down. It gives us more details, where the Xiaomi 14 Pro struggles already a little bit with noise. We can see a little bit more details there for sure on the Vivo X100 Pro. And definitely also in the text. And the more you zoom in, the more it becomes apparent. This is now 10 times on both. Yes, the Vivo is doing some kind of processing there to make everything a little bit sharper. You can see the artifacts there, so it's not very natural for sure at 10 times zoom, but it's definitely better than this very noisy Xiaomi 14 shot here, Xiaomi 14 Pro shot actually, that doesn't compare against the Vivo X100 Pro. So the more you zoom in, especially when it comes to over 5 times, I would even say over 4 times, the Vivo X100 is winning definitely. And let's take a look at selfies. The Vivo X100 has a mirrored selfie on for some reason, and I think I have also one with blurry background. Yeah, there we can compare the blurriness of the background. The Xiaomi 14 Pro does it more artistic-like with the very round bokeh balls, and the Vivo X100 Pro has like a big round blur circle behind me. I think you can choose the styles, but this is the default one that I have here. When it comes to detail levels and so on, before I zoom in, we can see a bit more contrasty look on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, a bit less contrasty look here on the Vivo X100 Pro. Both feature 32 megapixels, and when it comes to detail levels, I think I prefer the Xiaomi 14 Pro a bit more. Yes, it's a bit more noisy, but it also has a little bit more details, caps in a little bit more details on my face. Where the Vivo X100 Pro seems to beautify my face a little bit more. Also, the face is a bit warmer on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, where it's a bit greenish, coolish on the Vivo X100 Pro. For faces, I like them a little bit warmer there. Now let's go back one shot and one forward here. Without the background blur, both behave almost the same, but again, warmer kind of shot on the Xiaomi, where the Vivo is a bit cooler, greenish. You can see it here also in the background, where here the Xiaomi is, in my opinion, winning. Also, the Xiaomi has good HDR, where I think also the wider field of view that we have here, 21 versus 24 millimeters, is helping and showing me those lights here. Detail level, again, I think a tad sharper, even if I go a bit out there. You can clearly see my eyes, the color of my eyes, a bit brighter. A little bit better there on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Also here, this jacket is not this bluish kind of jacket. It's more like a black jacket. And I think that the Xiaomi is closer to this, even though both are not very good. I would say your selfie cams, there are better ones out there, but both have a good job. Let's go and talk about portrait shots. I only got Timmy once here in the shot, just for the sake of it. The 4.3 times zoom, which is like 85 millimeter, I think, here is doing really wonders. I like it. I just took this shot here. I wanted to show it to you because one of the few smartphones besides Sony that focuses, especially on animals, on the eye instead of the foreground here, like his nose that it usually would get with other smartphones. I sadly didn't get any shot with the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Nevertheless, I think it's pretty damn good. Also the bokeh, even though it's artificially done, I think it is quite good there. Okay, let's compare apples to apples. This is now the 2 times zoom on both. What we can see here is, I was praising the bokeh, but it's getting a bit weird. You can see here the bokeh is a bit more on the Vivo X100 Pro. Here's a bit less. The same we see here, a little less, and there a bit more bokeh. It's fake bokeh for sure, but it's weird, and the Xiaomi 14 Pro doesn't suffer from this issue. So some complex backgrounds on the Vivo X100 Pro might have an issue still. We have a warmer look on the Vivo X100 Pro, usually like this a bit more, and the Xiaomi 14 Pro has a bit more realistic colors there. In terms of detail levels, however, quite interesting, because I think with the crop and zoom sensor, the Xiaomi 14 Pro is winning. We have more details on my face. Here's lots more smoothed out on the Vivo X100 Pro. And yes, the beard is more smoothed out here. Here it's a bit sharpened up. The eyebrows are more natural here on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, where here it's a bit like artificial looking. And I think also my eyes are a bit more realistic looking on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. So that's, as also you can see here, my forehead, which is like completely smooth on the Vivo X100 Pro. So some beautification effect maybe active on the Vivo X100 Pro there. Let's zoom in a little bit more. This is now the 75 millimeter on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Yeah, it's stating this as well. And this is 85 millimeter on the Vivo X100 Pro. So both utilizing their telezoom camera, and yeah, quite interesting what you can see here. We have a bit of noise already on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, and here the Vivo X100 Pro is losing again against the Xiaomi 14 Pro. First of all, it's smoothing out the skin. You don't see my skin pores here on my nose. And the rest is a little bit, there's even like some dirt on my, how did I, nah, it doesn't matter. Forehead again, more smoothed out. It might be an algorithm that is like doing this here, but also I think the face is a tiny bit too yellowish on the X100 Pro, where the more greenish, bluish, colder kind of color on the Xiaomi 14 Pro I like a bit more. So the details on my eye are a bit better there. Bokeh, however, is good. I wouldn't call it marvelous. You can see some issues here on the Vivo X100 Pro, where the Xiaomi 14 Pro does it a bit better. And the same goes here for those kind of hair, that it's a bit more blown out there. I mean, it's been blurred out, which looks a bit artificial on the Vivo X100 Pro, and the Xiaomi 14 Pro is a bit better there in this regard. And now this is another shot. We have very different modes there. As you can see here, we have again 75 and 85 millimeters. We have various different modes, but did you notice the difference between this and this? I think it's getting just a bit darker on the Xiaomi 14 Pro when you go to Leica Authentic instead of Leica Vivid. But there's not much of a difference there. Vivo X100, if you're going to the textured mode, it is like throwing in a lot of contrast, tries to mimic what the Xiaomi 14 Pro does when you have like authentic active daylight, and the shots don't get better or more detailed, as you can see here. Still, this is like a huge win now for the Xiaomi 14 Pro in terms of detail levels there. And yeah, for portraits, I think the Xiaomi 14 Pro is still the winner. We have another portrait shots here. The Vivo X100 has this one here as well. This is like a 50 millimeters. This one is working fine, and I think the sharpness is good. But this is a major crop on the main camera sensor, only 50 millimeters here. That is working fine, and it looks this good. I think where the Vivo X100 shines is not this like so much closed up kind of portraits. If you're further away, then probably it will work a little bit better. Where the Xiaomi 14 Pro works a lot better for those kinds of close-up shots where you are a bit closer there and only have your upper body like photographed. And I think this is yeah, the one in natural mode. Also here, as you can see here, much sharper on the Vivo X100 Pro. I think Vivo has to optimize the portrait mode a little bit more here on the X100 Pro. Otherwise, it's a good device. I like the main camera a lot. I like a bit more warmish kind of colors, and I like the zoom camera for its reachability. But for portraits, I definitely like the Xiaomi 14 Pro a little bit better. That's for sure. This is now the Vivo X100 Pro in video night mode. What do you think about the quality? It has a special video night mode, which is quite nice. What do you think about stabilization colors? Now under the light, what do you think about this one? Going towards the dark now with the light in the background, how well is it working? And now I'm turning myself around. So I have the dark background now and the light is shining onto my face. So what do you think about the quality here? Video night mode, 4K 30 frames per second. I'm not sure if it's doing for 30 frames per second or 24 frames per second. It's just a different toggle that you can set on the Vivo X100 Pro. What do you think about the quality here at night? This is now the Xiaomi 14 Pro, and this one has a special night mode, 4K 24 frames per second, together with its very large aperture of f1.4 and a pretty large sensor. What do you think about this one here? Walking towards the light, I'm standing right underneath the light right now, and now I'm walking away from the light in the background. How is it handling exposure here? What do you think about the internal microphones and the stabilization? And now I'm in the dark and turning around, the dark now in the background and the light shining on my face. What do you think about the quality here of the Xiaomi 14 Pro?
Here we have the night photos. The Vivo X100 Pro, as you can see here with its main camera, is producing a brighter picture. We can see also that we have a little bit of a different color scheme, where here's a bit like darkish, kind of greenish. Here we have more yellowish on the Vivo X100 Pro. The sky is also a bit turquoise or something like this, so it's like a little bit like this greenish kind of blue, where we have it completely greenish more on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. And yeah, this exposure is not the only big difference that we have here. If you go to 100%, we can clearly see that we have a lot more sharpened up details, a lot more reconstructed details here on the Vivo X100 Pro, but also in general more sharper image, more details there for sure. Look at the fuel station there, look at the prices there. Look at the noise, especially here with this sign, for example, and all the other things there in the background as well. Everything a little bit sharper and more detailed on the Vivo X100 Pro, and it's reconstructing stuff clearly. Here you cannot read the name of the street, where here you can see, you can clearly read it as Düsseldorfer Straße, which is like yeah, the reconstruction of text, I think, that the Vivo X100 Pro does. So it has a very good night mode indeed, I would say. And also I think it handles HDR a little bit better on its main camera sensor. When we take a look at the zoom shot, this is now a 2x zoom, so both use a crop into the main camera sensor. Again, we have a brighter picture on the Vivo X100 Pro, and we have a little bit of darker picture and a little bit more bluish now on the Vivo X100 Pro, a bit more greenish now on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. When we zoom in and take a look at the details, you can see, yeah, 2x zoom at nighttime is both probably not the best for them, but the Xiaomi 14 Pro shows a lot more noise there, where the Vivo X100 Pro looks a lot more artificial because of all the noise reduction going on and reconstruction of yeah, what was actually there probably. But yeah, which one would you prefer? Which one has a little bit more details? Look at this here, where you can clearly see that both are basically on par, but we have a little bit better of colors here on the Vivo X100 Pro in contrast to the Xiaomi 14 Pro. We take a look at further zoom shots, like 10 times zoom into the same advertisements. We can see a little bit brighter picture on the Vivo X100, where the Xiaomi 14 Pro on the first glance looks a little bit better because of a more contrasty look. But as soon as I zoom in to 100%, you can clearly see the advantage of the Vivo X100 Pro. Much more noise on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. much less clear text here, much less clear details on this guy's face, for example, or this girl's face. On the other hand, it looks very artificial on the X100 Pro. It is reconstruction of faces and people, which is like something that does not work so well or looks a little bit creepy sometimes. But objects, for example, look at this woman here, looks a bit creepy with her tooth like being one big blob there, where here not so much details, but this here, what's standing in front of her, looks pretty good for reconstruction at 10 times. And all the text is like fantastically reconstructed on the X100 Pro. And yeah, this is especially here, for example, you can read even the small text there, and this logo of the city is also pretty okay, I would say. You can even see that these are two different kind of symbols there, which is also quite interesting. So yes, this is definitely a win for the Xiaomi X100 Pro. And for the Vivo X100 Pro, the Xiaomi 14 Pro is losing here. 4.2 versus 3.2 times zoom. Also, I think white balance I like a bit more on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, but when I zoom in, you can clearly see, okay, it's coming to its limits. There, it's even, I think, worse than the last, the 10 times zoom picture there, so maybe less processing going on. And the Vivo X100 Pro looks very clear again. No issues there. It's still a little bit more like artificially done there, especially when I zoom in a little bit more. But I think if we go to the 100% view, it is looking much clearer there. So at 4.2 times zoom, yes, it is very, very good and beats the Xiaomi 14 Pro for sure. We can also go to 3.2 times zoom on the Vivo X100 Pro, but this is then a digital crop on the main camera sensor, and then besides having a little bit, I think, better colors on the Vivo X100 Pro, we have like a mess. So yes, the 3.2 times zoom on the Xiaomi 14 Pro looks better than the 3.2 times zoom on the Vivo X100 Pro. On the other hand, yeah, the Xiaomi 14 Pro 4.2 times zoom against the Vivo X100 Pro looks definitely not bad, but definitely better on the Vivo X100 Pro. Okay, enough of that. Let's take a look at the ultra wide angle. Here, the ultra wide angle, we can clearly see again a difference in terms of colors, more bluish colors on the Vivo X100 Pro, especially the sky color here, a bit more greenish on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Overexposure we can see already there. We can see the wider field of view. We have, I think, what is it, 15mm here and 14mm here on the Xiaomi, and Vivo X100 Pro has 15mm, so a bit wider. This little building here is, yeah, capturing a little bit more of this little building. When we zoom in, you can see artifacts, noises already going in here on the Vivo X100 Pro, the same, but it doesn't look like this film grainy like that we have on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Here it looks like it tried to denoise but did not manage everything to be denoised. But what definitely worked out is the cool kind of lights that we have here usually at the fuel station, that the Vivo X100 Pro is really, really capturing quite nice. So it's colder kind of light and not this warmish kind of light that we have on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. And yeah, here the overexposure, here it is like not overexposed. Detail level, not much of a difference, maybe a bit better on the Xiaomi 14, on the Vivo X100 Pro. Xiaomi 14 Pro here is losing, especially with the HDR, where the Vivo X100 Pro has an advantage, not only with the ultra wide angle, but in general, I think thanks to its algorithms and chip. Here you can see also the noise difference. This noise is making the Xiaomi 14 Pro appear to be a little bit more detailed here, especially on the side with the tree, where the Vivo X100 Pro is a bit darker, but also it's like smoothing things out a lot there. You can see not only the tree is very, very smooth, all the stuff here in the background is much more detailed on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. So in the end, I would say maybe even the Xiaomi 14 Pro has a better ultra wide angle there, or at least they're on par in terms of yeah, nighttime photography, because I like the exposure on the Vivo X100 Pro better, but I like the way of handling detail on the Xiaomi 14 Pro a little bit better. So yeah, it's head to head, neck to neck. Which one would you prefer? Xiaomi 14 Pro has a wider field of view that I also like in general, more dramatic kind of view, but yeah, Vivo X100 Pro, I think this ultra wide angle is the weak spot here. especially on the back. What I really want to show you is this, which is mind-blowing for me. The first smartphone that I see that can do this, the Vivo X100 Pro, has very good HDR. Also in this zoom shots, this is 4.2 times zoom against 3.2 times zoom. We can see the color difference already, but we can also see when I zoom in here how good this looks like. We have a little bit artificial sharpening up and noise on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, where it looks absolutely clean. Yes, it is. I know that it is like probably edited and so on, but look at the numbers here. You can even see the individual LEDs that make up those numbers here, and hopefully they did not change by taking the photo. This is something that someone noticed one time, because they are changing half an hour or something like this, and sometimes you are in between those. Otherwise, text clear on the Vivo X100 Pro. I'm surprised how good this is. Really, it's like really mind-blowing, and on a different league than the Xiaomi 14 Pro for sure. Also the colors here, very hard to catch those two colors together, and you can see the Xiaomi is trying hard but it's not getting it, and the Vivo X100 Pro has no issue there at all with this. Also all the little details and reflection here, much clearer, much better on the Vivo X100 Pro. Yes, the Vivo X100 Pro has definitely the better camera in comparison to the Xiaomi 14 Pro for sure. And then selfies is a bit of a mixed bag, I would say. Like I said, I think in the daylight shots they are basically on par, and I don't see much of a difference here. In nighttime, I prefer, I think, maybe in daylight even the Xiaomi 14 Pro sometimes. Here we have a bit of more contrasty look on the Vivo X100 Pro, where the Xiaomi 14 Pro has a little bit of a hazy kind of look, which makes it a bit more film-like, especially when I zoom in. You can see we have like film-like grain everywhere, noise. Where here the Vivo X100 Pro is reconstructing my face a little bit in all this noise here. Yeah, you have to like it. Overexposure on both. Bit more overexposure on the Xiaomi 14 Pro than on the Vivo. And we can take another shot here in with the portrait effect, and here I like the Xiaomi 14 Pro a little bit better in this portrait effect. Here it was like equally, maybe the haze is a little bit weird there on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, and yeah, detail level here you can see it's a bit noisier on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, but more natural looking, where I can see editing on the Vivo X100 Pro. But it's not bad editing, I would say. It's like on par with what I saw with the Mate 60 Pro and so on, where I would say yes, Vivo is doing a very good job there. But here this case is different, because here I think first of all the noise is a bit more reduced on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. I like the bokeh, but this like a little bit of hazy look adds together with the grain a bit of more this like kind of filmy kind of look. Also the color here, the light color that was there is clearly shown here, so it's a bit of reddish kind of light, reddish yellowish kind of light, which is like not visible here at all on the Vivo X100 Pro. I'm not sure why. So it's like this like casting of this light is not there, which was there clearly because the light was there next to me. So it just eliminated this for some reason, and this makes it look a little bit weird. So here I would give it to the Xiaomi 14 Pro. But overall, I think in terms of selfies, for photos, I would say they are equally good or bad in certain situations in terms of night mode. And the rest I will tell you in my conclusion. Otherwise, totally night. And I wanted to photograph maybe the sky and maybe some stars, but no chance. It's just like too cloudy. But this one with the foreground of the trees allows me to like show you the difference in terms of like night mode procedure. Both in automatic mode, the Xiaomi 14 Pro took like 2 seconds, and the Vivo X100 Pro took about 3.5 seconds, something like this. The Xiaomi 14 Pro is showing how many seconds it will take. The Vivo X100 Pro is not really showing it. It's just like taking the shot, and I have to count. And we have a brighter shot, definitely the Vivo X100 Pro, thanks to probably the large aperture and the very large sensor, 1-inch size sensor. When it comes to detail level here, basically on par. A little bit of noise creeping in on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Sharpening and algorithms and so on, and maybe a bit sharpened up here on the Vivo X100 Pro. A bit sharper there. And of course, because the foreground is a little bit brighter there, you can see maybe a little bit better there. Especially here, this area there, where here it's a bit darker, but detail level is basically on par. There's not much of a difference, which is quite interesting. So the IMAX, we had this already, the IMAX 989 versus the new Light Hunter 900, which is like OV 9000 something, edited version. Basically on par, but I would give the slight edge maybe here to the Vivo X100 Pro in certain situations, depending on when you're shooting the night. So this is my conclusion. This is my this is my review of the nighttime photos. What do you think? Write it down in the comments. Let's talk about my conclusion and the ranking. TLDR, what you can see here, the Vivo X100 Pro gets 4.435 stars, where the Xiaomi 14 Pro gets 4.335 stars. So there's 0.1 star more for the Vivo X100 Pro, and that catapults it directly on top of the list, basically together with the Huawei Mate 60 Pro. So enough TLDR, let's take a look at the differences. First of all, let's take a look at the main camera photo quality. Here I think the Vivo X100 Pro beats the Xiaomi 14 Pro for sure. It is a little bit huger than you might want to see it here, but it's true that we have better HDR, we have better detail retrieval for sure, and especially at night time better colors, I would say, and of course better HDR handling in this case of the bright light sources that leads to this very good score, which is like on par with the Xiaomi 14 that didn't have those issues. I think I have to correct the Xiaomi 14 Pro's ranking a little bit here to 4.6. Because I think with the latest updates, but I have to recheck this out, it got improved a little bit with the main camera photo quality. I bashed it basically when I was testing the Xiaomi 14 Pro against the 14, that it has such weirdness, softness and lack of details. It still lacks a little bit of details in contrast to the Vivo X100 Pro. This is why you can see the huge difference here of those 0.3 points. Ultra wide angle is pretty interesting because sometimes the Vivo X100 Pro was a bit better, especially those steps where the V3 chip was involved, like HDR for example. But otherwise the ultra wide angle performance is basically the same. Yes, sometimes more details on the Vivo X100 Pro, but less wide. And it doesn't sound so wide, like the difference like 15 versus 14 millimeters, but in practice it is like a difference that you can definitely notice. This is one thing that led to this score. The other thing is like they're very, very close together, and sometimes one is better than the other. Other times the other is better than the one. And this is why altogether they are on par when it comes to this. Where they are definitely not on par is the zoom camera photo quality. Yes, I have to distinguish here. Zoom camera photo quality nowadays also means portrait shots. In terms of portraits, the Xiaomi 14 Pro beats the Vivo X100 Pro for sure. But portraits is not everything that you will photograph. Sometimes you just want to photograph subjects that are passing by, that are a bit further away, or animals in the zoo where you don't usually use the portrait shots for this. You just want to zoom in, want to have a bit more reach, and this is something that you get with the X100 Pro with fantastic 10 times zoom that looks very good and probably can even might compete even with the Galaxy S23 Ultra's optical zoom there. Though it is using, of course, artificial intelligence and stuff to reconstruct certain things, which might end up in a little bit of artificial kind of looking faces for people especially. But for objects it's working fine. For animals I did not really test so much out there. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. Otherwise the zoom camera photo quality 4.2 times is 4.3 times actually, I think it is. Let me check again. I'm always confused this because of Xiaomi's 4.3 times actually, 100 millimeters. 4.3 times zoom on the Vivo X100 Pro is actually pretty good and unusual, but I like this. It's a little bit more reach with the 3.5 times zoom. It's good. It's likable for sure. it's not like this jump to the 5 times zoom where it's like completely useless for portraits. So it can be used for portraits as well, and especially if you have some vintage filter, film filter, for example. Ben, yeah, I watch your videos. For sure, then you have also cool looking photos with nice bokeh and portrait as well. But it's not the best in terms of portrait, I would say, but it's very, very high on top there for sure. So yeah, zoom goes directly to the Vivo X100 Pro with this sensor there, and this quite a bit of unusual cropped in 64 megapixel to 50 megapixel zoom camera, or tele camera actually. And video recording quality, I think the video recording quality was quite a bit better on the 14 Pro. Not a huge margin, but especially after rewatching this again after a week, and you have to decide now, giving the points, it's definitely the Vivo X100 Pro has some issues still there. Hopefully they can improve on the video. Nighttime video I think was okay. But daytime was a bit too contrasty there, the look, and especially the ultra wide angle is really, and stabilization is also, Xiaomi is a bit better there, and this is why we have 4.4 points on Xiaomi's side. But if they really improve the video recording quality, which I really hope they will do on the Vivo X100 Pro, that would catapult it directly to the top spot there for sure. Autofocus performance is basically the same. I did not notice any focus hunting or issues with video recording or taking photos. Front camera is slightly better on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, especially when you take selfies in the dark as well, which works a bit better there than on the Vivo X100 Pro. Vivo X100 Pro tries to reconstruct a lot of things. The Xiaomi 14 Pro stays a bit more true to life, and for selfies, yeah, for the main camera, for the zoom portrait kind of shots, it's working kinda, but for the front-facing camera, I think the Xiaomi has an edge there. Where the Vivo X100 Pro on the same kind of level has an edge is the default camera UI. I think it's very configurable, has lots and lots of options there, and it's easy to use, and I think slightly bit more easier to use than the Xiaomi 14 Pro. Xiaomi is doing quite a good job there already, but I really like the possibility, for example, to have during video recording, and I wouldn't count it as extra feature, I would count it as essential feature. During video recording now you can switch between all the lenses, and it has this nice zoom effect, and yeah, also the possibility to see the millimeters that you have right now when you're zooming in and out. You have the possibility in photo mode to press the 1x button again, see, okay, I'm going from 24 millimeters now to 28 millimeters and back to, and then to 35 millimeters and then back to actually 23 millimeters. And the same for 2x, I can go to 46 or I can go to 50 millimeters, and the same goes then for all the other ones, which is quite nice and handy there for sure. So yes, slightly better on the Vivo X100 Pro. Extra features, I think the Vivo X100 Pro wins here. I think they even add like the possibility now to use some Bluetooth stuff for recording directly from Bluetooth headsets. But I think they only work with really with the Vivo headsets for really recording, but at least you can use Bluetooth devices to control start-stop recording, for example, which might be very interesting. Otherwise, I think they also have the possibility still in video mode, or at least in Pro mode, to for video to adjust the noise level. So if you want to have denoising algorithms there or not, so this is a possibility as well on Vivo's side, which I think I really like there. And lots of settings that they have for sure. And in terms of Pro features, it's a little bit more Pro than the Xiaomi 14 Pro. This is why I think the Vivo X100 Pro has a slight edge there. And this leaves us to the total ranking. Let's take a look at the ranking list. Close this down, go to the ranking list, and there we can see it. It's listed here under the Huawei Mate 60 Pro, but basically it should be on par with the Huawei Mate 60 Pro, just like as the Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max is on par with the Huawei P60 Pro with the same points there. So as you can see here, the Vivo X100 Pro has the same kind of points, 4.435, as the current leader, the Mate 60 Pro. Where does the Vivo X100 Pro excel? It's the main camera photo quality. It's better than the Huawei Mate 60 Pro. Where it's slightly worse is the ultra wide angle, because here I think Huawei has a very wide angle field of view and more details, and also very good HDR. Where it excels as well, the Vivo X100 Pro, is the zoom camera quality. The Huawei Mate 60 Pro has only the 3.5 times zoom. It has also very nice algorithms for denoising, sharpening things up, reconstructing everything via AIs and so on. But I think the Vivo X100 Pro is doing a better job there. And with its better optical, unusual but better optical and larger sensor probably that can take in a little bit more light and better night performance, low light performance, the Vivo X100 Pro is winning against the Huawei Mate 60 Pro quite significantly. However, where I see a huge improvement is on the Mate 60 Pro is the video camera quality. This is on par with the Oppo Find X6 Pro, and it's on top, leading there. And this is something where Vivo still has to catch up. Like I said, when they would only get 0.1 point more, then everything would be okay already. But getting on the same level as the other ones would be really highly recommendable there in this case. Autofocus performance is very good. Like I said, front camera is something that is lacking in terms of details for sure. And also video recording quality, what was missing, of course, 4K video on the front that is stabilized. And in terms of extra features, camera UI is worse on the Huawei Mate 60 Pro. There are some features just simply not there. Like there's a pro video mode, but there's no focus peaking, such things, for example. And not everything is so configurable like it should be. And in terms of extra features, however, the Huawei Mate 60 Pro has some more nice little nifty extra features. However, I think I have to go down at one point on the Huawei Mate 60 Pro, because the extra features now that catapulted to 4.5 points, which is very, very high here, is more hardware features, like the possibility to record on a nano memory card, for example, and the possibility of the Huawei Mate 60 Pro and the P60 Pro and the P50 Pro and so on, recording from Bluetooth devices, audio devices, for example, such things, and the compatibility with all my Bluetooth or wireless microphones and so on, which is quite nice in terms of extra features. But yeah, the Vivo X100 Pro would have gotten here 4.5, just like the Vivo X90 Pro Plus, if it would have the same kind of feature set, like for example this horizontal lock that we had on the Vivo X90 Pro. The X100 Pro doesn't have anymore as stabilization option. I'm not sure if it is something bound to the Snapdragon processor or SoC, or it's something they forgot to insert there or input there, or they're waiting for the Vivo X100 Pro Plus or Vivo X100 Ultra or whatever they will call it. Nevertheless, the Vivo X100 Pro is a very, very good device. It's not beating and dominating in every category, but it's definitely deserved its top spot in my ranking list. Same points as with the Mate 60 Pro. That might change in the future if they update with the updates. They can improve the video recording quality, and then it will be probably the best out there. But however, being top of the list doesn't mean it's the best in everything. Like I said, portrait shots, you get better devices. The Oppo Find X6 Pro, for example, where if I have to go to a Christmas market or meet my friends and family and have to do some portraits and in dim lit situations and so on, I would definitely get the Oppo Find X6 Pro for such occasions, and also for the portrait shots, because it's larger sensor, better light intake, less blurry pictures, more details. Oppo Find X6 Pro for sure. And same goes for the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. Probably I will use also for better portraits, or Xiaomi 14, even Xiaomi 14 Pro, but I wouldn't take this 14 Pro probably for other reasons there. As you can see, it's quite down there, even below the Vivo X100 Pro, with like a little less points there, the Xiaomi 14 Pro. But this might change as well with software updates, because it's a very young device. And the same goes for the Google Pixel 8 Pro. This new video boost feature came out. I just did quite a few test videos and was not so convinced, but I have to redo maybe some test videos in the night. And it might also catapult to the top. The same goes for the Xperia 1 Mark V. I have to definitely recheck it out, especially the zoom, camera photo quality, compare it with others, and maybe it will also go up there. So software updates are really helping those devices to go up here, and you can see more and more devices that I have here there as well in the list. And yeah, the only thing that I cannot retest is the Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. I think some other devices that I don't have anymore, but yeah, at least now you have the ranking system. Yes, the Vivo X100 Pro takes the top position here in my ranking. What do you think? Write it on the comment section. That's everything for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Until the next time. Bye.